Discover the amazing moment a waitress transformed a billionaire's prejudice with fluent French. Mia's world was New Orleans, rich with jazz and the deep echoes of her Creole heritage. Every day, she rushed through the bistro's bustling kitchen, her heart ignited by the dreams of culinary school, a dream she nurtured despite the weight of her modest upbringing. As she served steaming platters of gumbo and beignets, she imagined the day she would craft her own masterpieces, celebrating the flavors that ran through her blood. But everything shifted the day Thomas strolled in his designer suit and watched screaming privilege. His condescending tone turned each request into a slight against her culture. "Just plain chicken for me," he said, dismissively waving off the jambalaya. The arrogance in his voice echoed through the room, threatening to suffocate the warmth that filled the bistro. Mia clenched her jaw, refusing to let his disdain for her city seep into her spirit. Yet, each visit chipped away at her patience, igniting a fire of defiance. This billionaire, so blind to the heart and soul of New Orleans, had become both her bane and her obsession. Determined to prove him wrong, she immersed herself in French, recalling her grandmother's words, "Language is a bridge." But that bridge felt 10 feet wide and 1,000 miles long. Each lesson sparked a whirlwind of doubt. Could she really speak with the same fluidity she felt in the kitchen? Anxiety tangled with excitement, leaving her restless. Would she ever gather the courage to confront the man who shrugged off the very essence of her life? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One afternoon, the worlds of Mia and Thomas collided in unexpected chaos. He was seated, his sharp features contorted in confusion as an enthusiastic group of French tourists flooded the bistro, their laughter a vibrant contrast to his stiff demeanor. She watched, heart racing, as he struggled to communicate. She felt the tension in the air, a palpable energy of opportunity surging beneath her skin. A choice loomed before her: she could let her fear bind her, let his arrogance remain unchallenged, or she could seize this moment to shatter his prejudices with the very language that connected her to her roots. An internal tempest boiled, doubt wrestled with fierce determination. She took a breath, calculated yet electric. The entire room held its breath as Mia stepped in, her fluent French rolling off her tongue like music, weaving through the conversation with ease and grace. The stunned silence that followed enveloped them both. Something shifted in Thomas's eyes, a flicker of confusion giving way to curiosity. As his icy exterior began to thaw, a spark ignited within her, a tantalizing mix of triumph and fear. She had stepped beyond the line of her comfort, but at what cost? With friendships being built across chasms of prejudice, could their connection withstand the truths of their worlds? As their interactions deepened, Mia found herself standing at the edge of something vast and terrifying. But she didn't know if she could bridge that gap without losing herself. Would ambition win, or would the weight of societal expectations drag her under? The stakes were high, and uncertainty wrapped around her heart like a vice. The tension, thick and electrifying, filled the space between them as Mia hesitated, teetering on the brink of a choice that could redefine everything she fought for. Mia stood before Thomas, her heart racing as the weight of his gaze intensified. There was an undeniable shift in the energy around them, a mixture of surprise and potential that flared up between them. She felt both terrified and exhilarated, caught in that precarious moment where her decision could propel her forward or send her spiraling back into doubt. "What do you think?" she asked, her voice a little steadier in French as she gestured towards the tourists. She watched his reaction closely, searching for signs of appreciation for her language, her culture, and a glimpse of the man hiding behind the condescension. It's impressive," he stumbled out, begrudging the acknowledgement. His brows knitted together as he grappled with the realization that his usual dismissive demeanor had met a challenge. The anxiety she often felt at work was now intermingled with a newfound sense of possibility. In that moment, she understood the importance of speaking not just in words, but through her heritage. Her boldness opened doors in the suffocating tension around them. As the tourists laughed and reminisced about their own experiences in the city, Mia found herself drawn into their warmth. The simple joy of sharing food and stories reminded her why she loved her work, solidifying her purpose as she transitioned from an overlooked waitress to a voice representing her culture. "Let me show you the menu," she continued in French, effortlessly slipping back into her second language. "The jambalaya will surprise you at how exceptional it is." Excitement bubbled within her as she pointed out ingredients that spoke volumes about her heritage. Thomas frowned, clearly taken aback. "This is what you want to do with your life?" His question cut through her exhilaration, leaving a small but potent flicker of doubt. Did he really think he was entitled to question the validity of her dreams? Her internal dialogue screamed at her to push back, but the fire within her dimmed slightly under his scrutiny. Still, she refused to let it snuff out entirely. "Absolutely," she replied, regaining strength. "Food is not just sustenance, it's art. It tells a story." She could see the wheels turning in his mind. Perhaps he was beginning to understand that every plate she crafted held her heritage, her passion. What he didn't realize, however, was how much he, too, was part of this unfolding narrative. As their conversation progressed, she noticed subtle shifts in Thomas's posture. He leaned in, intrigued. Each word Mia spoke landed differently, transforming his initial skepticism into curiosity. Something slowly unfurled within her. The bridge she'd envisioned earlier grew sturdier with every exchange. This was no longer about proving him wrong, it had evolved into a dance of mutual discovery. But beneath the surface, a nagging fear persisted. Was she challenging him, or was she simply feeding the fire of his privilege, allowing his preconceptions to eclipse her worth? Deep down, she questioned whether this budding connection would foster respect or merely become a spectacle of entertainment for him. It haunted her with thoughts of whether ambition could truly coexist with acceptance. With every minute that passed, she recognized the duality of truth in her own aspirations. She craved personal growth alongside the validation of her dreams, yet feared losing herself in the shadow of another's expectations. The dance of ambition and acceptance left her feeling increasingly fraught. Just then, the door of the bistro swung open, and an unexpected visitor stepped inside, causing a stir among the patrons. Mia's heart raced again, and as she glanced back at Thomas, their eyes locked. Uncertainty flickered in the air, and the uncharted territory of their evolving dynamic stood before her like an imposing maze. The chaotic energy enveloped them as new faces emerged, and she suddenly felt the increasing pressure of formulating her next move. As the familiar sound of jazz floated through the bistro, Mia realized that she was not only on a journey to conquer her fears but also to carve out a space where both she and Thomas could stand in their authenticity. Yet, would she dare take that leap, and was she ready for whatever awaited her, both within and without? The moment felt pregnant with potential, and she steeled herself for the turning point that was about to unfold, aware that everything they had built thus far could shift in an instant. Mia felt the pulse of the bistro around her, unaware yet wholly aware of the growing anticipation as the unexpected visitor stepped inside. A familiar face emerged from the shadows, instantly drawing her focus: a close friend from culinary school, Lane. With a disarming smile and vibrant confidence, Lane swept into the room like a gust of fresh air. "Mia! I didn't expect to find you here," she exclaimed, her voice rising above the din. The interruption jolted Mia's heart, both with affection and a flicker of dread. Who was she now, this woman no longer standing in the thrall of self-doubt? Would Lane see the quiet spark of ambition or the wavering pretensions she'd battled through her interactions with Thomas? "Mia's been living the dream," Thomas interjected, a hint of mockery in his tone. Mia's gaze darted between Lane's radiant curiosity and Thomas's condescension. In that moment, Lane became a lifeline and an anchor. She smirked slightly, folding her arms, as if she comprehended the dialogue without hearing all the words. "So, are you still cooking up those incredible French dishes you used to rave about? Lane's question was tinged with jest, yet it invited a deeper exploration of Mia's true self. Inside, a flash of pride ignited. Actually, yes. I'm crafting a menu that tells stories. Mia took a breath, her intention to assert herself flooding her throat with courage. This wasn't merely about culinary skills, it was about reclaiming her narrative from the shadows of judgment. Thomas shifted uncomfortably, the confidence Mia felt at being scrutinized was now reflecting in her posture. What do you say to that, Thomas? She challenged, fully facing him. Food is about connection, and I'm passionate about sharing mine. Each word felt like a step away from the precarity of acceptance. Lane's brows shot up, curiosity transforming into delight. That's amazing, Mia. You've always had this gift. The sincerity in Lane's voice felt like nourishing light, reinforcing her resolve. She cast Thomas a look, willing him to grasp the depth of her passion, the kind that eclipsed superficial ambitions. Isn't it fascinating how food transcends barriers? Lane pressed, her confidence radiating. It brings people together, tells their stories just like your jambalaya. It proves that culture is rich and alive. The words sparked a noticeable shift within the group. Thomas's frown deepened. For the first time, he seemed momentarily speechless as the flutter of laughter and chatter from other patrons enveloped them like a soft blanket, enhancing the electric energy of the conversation. Mia felt the tension fracturing slightly, the possibility of a new understanding shimmering in the air. Just then, a bell clanged from the kitchen, announcing a menu item ready to serve. The festive rhythm of New Orleans jazz swelled, filling the room, resonating with Mia's determination. She realized this was a pivotal moment, a chance not only to assert her worth to Thomas but to reclaim her ambitions louder than ever. However, in the back of her mind, a nagging doubt surfaced. She sought validation, yes, but was she willing to compromise her identity to achieve it? A new layer of introspection melded with her conviction, creating a swirl of thought and feeling that both anchored and liberated her. As the conversation swayed between light banter and deeper revelations, Mia challenged herself to tread boldly. After the evening's last plate was cleared, she would summon the courage to fully articulate her aspirations, to demand acknowledgement not just from Thomas, but primarily from herself. The momentum built like the crescendo of a jazz piece, and just when Mia thought she could bask in the validation, a thought surfaced. What if Thomas was confronting something in himself that was just as disorienting? The night promised clarity, a revelation on the horizon, yet the uncertainty of their melding stories threw shadows over her certainty. The time had come to challenge the limits of Thomas and, more crucially, her own. Would she make the plunge into deeper conversation, risking everything to learn how their narratives could possibly intertwine or diverge, while carving a path towards her true calling? She looked toward Lane, her steadfast friend beaming with encouragement, and then back at Thomas, who wore an unreadable expression. The tension approached a tipping point as the distinct vibrance of her aspirations pulsed with urgency. The next move was hers, and as she poised on the precipice of that decision, she felt not just palpable fear but exhilaration coursing through her veins. What was the cost of her ambition, and was she ready for the truth that lay ahead? Mia felt the electrifying tension coursing through her veins, demanding action. The world around her faded as she approached Thomas, her heart pounding like the rhythmic pulse of the jazz band playing in the corner. Flashes of the past whispered in her mind, each ensuring that her every step toward him was both exhilarating and terrifying. When she reached the table, she hesitated. The mockery etched in Thomas's features still lingered, but it was overshadowed by the flicker of uncertainty simmering behind his eyes. There was a chasm between them. Mia felt it as clearly as the tingle of the air before a storm. Should she confront him about the facade he wore, the way he belittled her pursuits? Or would that only prompt him to retreat deeper into his shields? Thomas, she started, her voice steady despite the tremor of doubt. I want to talk about our perceptions of food and culture. His brow arched, and for a fleeting moment, Mia thought he might reject her. But instead, he leaned back, arms crossed, a defensive stance, yes, but also one that hinted he was willing to listen. Really? What is there to talk about? His tone was laced with condescension, as if he expected her to spout some cliché about culinary arts. Yet, she sensed an opening, a willingness for exchange. It's more than just what we serve on a plate, she replied, channeling her earlier conviction. Every dish carries the weight of history, connections, and emotions. It's an invitation to a dialogue, a way to bridge divides. She inhaled deeply, daring to embrace the stance she had long denied herself. When I cook, I am crafting a narrative that brings people together. Food isn't just sustenance, it's a reflection of our experiences. Lane nodded from her spot nearby, encouraging Mia's unfolding stance, yet Mia remained focused on Thomas. The air felt electric with unspoken possibilities. The rhythm of the bistro intensified, its life mirroring her determination. Interesting perspective, he said, skepticism lingering in his voice. But isn't that a bit romantic? Most people just want a good meal. Perhaps, Mia countered, allowing herself to stand firm. But I'm not merely a cook. I aspire to tell stories that resonate with soul. There's beauty in vulnerability, and if food can evoke that, then who are we to dismiss its power? The passion surged through her words, and she could see in Thomas's shifting expression that he was beginning to engage with her narrative. For the first time, his defenses seemed to falter. You make it sound almost dynamic. The residual irony in his voice was less biting, curiosity punctuating his demeanor. Suddenly, Mia felt a glimmer of hope, a light illuminating the possibility of change. She seized that moment. Let me show you. Would you be willing to try a dish? A creation that speaks volumes in every bite? The challenge hung in the air between them, thick with implications. She had extended an invitation, a chance to challenge their previous dynamics. Every part of her wanted to soar, yet there was a part still weighing her down, questioning his intent. Did he truly want to understand, or was she merely indulging in fantasy? Thomas regarded her intently, weighing his response, and the pause felt like an eternity. Mia sensed the stakes rising, the tension steepening around them as the jazz band's melody lingered like an intoxicating fog. With certainty creeping into his expression, Thomas sighed. All right, Mia. Let us see what you've got. A surge of triumph washed over her, knowing she had broken through. But the thrill was tinged with anxiety. Presenting her creation meant bearing her soul in a way she hadn't anticipated. As she returned to the kitchen, a heightened energy settled within her. Mia was filled with purpose, her hands moving deftly as she plated the dish that had lived in her imagination for so long. This was more than food, it was a testament to everything she had fought to embrace. But what if the meal failed to move him? What if Thomas remained entrenched in his prejudice, unable to appreciate the cultural depth she had infused into her culinary expression? With the plate finally ready, she took a moment to breathe. It was now or never, a singular moment that would reveal not just the weight of her ambition but the potential for change in both their stories. Determined, she walked back into the dining area, ready to challenge the boundaries once more. Would the meal truly reshape Thomas's perspective, or would it leave her grappling with the remnants of doubt? The realization struck hard. This was just the beginning of her journey, one that could redefine everything. As she approached the table, the shadows of self-doubt loomed large, but so did the possibility of revelation. What would this moment unveil about the nature of identity, ambition, and culinary artistry? Mia steadied herself, the weight of the plate steadying her shaky grip. Each step toward Thomas felt monumental. She was about to expose the fragile layers of her artistry and passion. The dish, a complex fusion of flavors representing her heritage intertwined with her personal journey, was more than a meal. It was a statement, an assertion of her identity she had fought to carve out amidst the chaos of doubt and dismissal. As she reached the table, Mia felt the heat radiating from the kitchen reflect on her skin, each bead of sweat echoing her anxiety. She placed the dish before Thomas with a deliberate motion, catching the faint scent of herbs wafting from the perfectly arranged ingredients. This, she declared, is a duck confit infused with an orange-glazed sauce and a side of saffron-infused risotto. It's inspired by my grandmother's recipes but reimagined in a contemporary light. The moment hung between them, the cicada buzz of nearby conversations fading into the background. Thomas's eyes flickered between the dish and her, uncertainty playing on his features. This was her moment, a collision of hope and fear. Would he taste the heart behind the culinary creation, or would he reduce it to mere ingredients? I know it may seem extravagant, Mia began, her voice faltering before firming up. But my food aims to tell a story of resilience, tied to a history that's often overlooked. I hope you can sense the journey. Thomas picked up his fork, his movements slow as if he were weighing each bite against her fervent words. Anxiety clawed at her. What if the flavors didn't resonate? Fear coiled tightly, but her determination pushed through. To her disbelief, Thomas took a mouthful, his expression unreadable. In that heartbeat, Mia's mind raced. She envisioned all the hours she'd spent honing her craft, all the ridicule she'd faced not just from him, but the voices of others who doubted her. Somehow, this moment felt larger than either of them. It was a confrontation of worlds that had collided with her conviction. Thomas chewed thoughtfully, and in his silence, Mia couldn't help but dissect his expressions. Gradually, a flicker of surprise crossed his brow, an arc of intrigue pulling at the corners of his mouth. Could it be that she had finally breached the fortress he'd encased himself in? Her heart surged, but caution remained since the interplay of uncertainty kept her from giving in to hope too swiftly. What do you think? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, nerves threading through her syllables. It's unexpected, he replied slowly, hesitation pervading each word. There's a depth here that he paused, searching for the right description, surprisingly complex. The saffron isn't overdone, and yet, it carries everything else alongside it. Encouraged by his response, Mia pressed on, her voice steadier this time. Food is meant to stir emotions, create dialogue. It's a bridge I want to share, a connection, an experience, something you can't simply classify. His gaze locked onto hers, sparking a challenge within her. And what if I don't agree? What if it's just a meal, and I'm not moved? The air thickened with tension, a subtle confrontation lay beneath their exchange. This wasn't just about food anymore. It spoke to their histories, their biases, and Mia's determination to rise beyond the clutches of his skepticism. She knew this moment could shift her trajectory forever. Then I can only hope my passion finds you in some way, she replied, her resolve hardening. In doing so, she admitted that change was not solely within her control. Thomas was a mirror reflecting her struggles. His acceptance or rejection held the power to reshape her understanding of self-worth. Mia's heart raced. The realization dawned that her culinary journey was not just about the flavors on a plate but also about the transformation of perceptions. She had ignited a conversation, threaded with vulnerability and authenticity. Yet, uncertainty lingered. Would it be enough to break down the walls which had fortified his prejudice? As she stood by, waiting for his verdict, she felt an intoxicating mix of fear and exhilaration. The moment hung delicately, the next bite could alter everything. Would Thomas transform before her eyes, or would he dismiss her entirely, leaving her to question her journey all over again? Now, as the silence pressed down around them, Mia had to confront not only his judgment but the battle within herself, an endless discourse between doubt and hope, between identity and ambition. Would she leave this encounter empowered or embittered? In the stillness, the jazz band played another soft refrain, and in that fleeting moment, a question danced on the edge of possibility. What if the truth of her culinary voice was about to be heard? Would the flavors reveal a complexity neither of them expected? Thomas set down his fork, the plate now devoid of the exquisite food Mia had so painstakingly prepared. The tension lingered in the air, a charged silence that felt heavy with unspoken words. She held her breath, watching his face for any trace of what he might be thinking. Did the taste resonate, or was he simply going to dismiss her efforts? Unexpected is a start, he said, leaning back in his chair, a thoughtful look crossing his features. But it's not just about flavor for me. It's the context. What you've shared about your grandmother, it speaks volumes. You have something to say, but what if I don't fully get it? Mia's heart sank for a brief moment, an undercurrent of despair kicking in. She realized she had crossed an invisible line by laying bare her soul through culinary artistry. It was risky, but wasn't that the essence of her journey? She thought of all the people who dismissed her passion without a second glance, and now came Thomas, serving as both critic and potential ally. Maybe that's where we could engage, she replied, striving to keep her tone even. Food, like any art, is a shared experience. The connections we build over a meal can lead to deeper understandings. He nodded slowly, his gaze not leaving hers. You think a dish can change perspectives? Why not? Everything has the potential to shift perspectives, she responded, pushing past her nerves. Think about how you were affected by your time in France, the culture, the food. It opened you up in ways you might not have expected. His brow furrowed, more focused than ever. She sensed the gears turning in his mind. Perhaps the connection she envisioned was stronger than she initially believed. Yet, she had to confront the lingering hesitation that had shrouded their unfolding conversation. Sometimes, I wonder if I'm just a waitress to you, caught in this grand play you're conducting, Mia admitted, surprising herself with the admission. You have the power to uplift or dismiss. I need you to see that the food I create embodies who I am and what I believe. Her words struck a raw nerve. Thomas leaned forward, his expression sharpening. And that belief is what? That you can transcend a stereotype? That you can be more than a server? Precisely, Mia declared, her confidence breaching the surface of her fear. I refuse to let being a waitress define my worth. I want to be seen for my capabilities, my passion for food that tells stories. In that moment, as the pulse of the jazz band playing softly enveloped them, Mia felt an invigorating spark. She realized this wasn't merely an evaluation of her dish, it was a defining moment of clarity for her identity. Unbeknownst to her, small revelations danced behind her eyes, waiting to be articulated, forcing her to confront a deeper truth, but Thomas had more to contemplate than just her career. A chasm of past judgments loomed over them. As the silence stretched thin, she sensed doubt cascading in waves through him. Here's a thought, he said finally, what if your next dish was inspired by your own journey here, today? The suggestion unfolded within her, igniting a rush of ideas. She could explore the melding of her roots with this new context, one hand grasping the past while the other reached toward the future. It was more than a culinary concoction, it could be a manifesto of self-discovery expressed on a plate. Her heart raced at the prospect. That's intriguing. To create something from my experiences with you, no matter how simple it might be. It would be more than simple, he replied, a note of encouragement threading through his skepticism. It could be profound. Let us see if you can challenge my expectations again. The challenge hooked her again just as she had begun deciding what to illustrate. It was precisely what she needed to push herself past the confines of her self-doubt. Yes, I'll do it, Harry added, tasting the excitement surging within her, but even as the spark of inspiration ignited, a gnawing voice whispered at her conscience, would she have the courage to navigate this transformation? Could she reach into her own vulnerabilities without faltering? As she prepared to return to the kitchen, a sensation of mixed fear and determination flooded her veins. The composed facade she wore might crack wider than she anticipated, but she had already stepped into the crucible of her journey and there was no turning back now. Would her upcoming creation be a genuine reflection of her struggle against the odds, or would she succumb to the very doubts she was fighting? With a newfound purpose swirling in her mind, she made her way back, ready to explore the flavors of her soul and the essence of her voice. Would she emerge transformed, finally challenging the biases that defined her art? Mia stood in the kitchen, the chaos of clanging pans and sizzling foods around her fading into a distant murmur. Instead, her focus sharpened on her thoughts as she wrestled with the task before her. Could she construct a dish that encapsulated not just her journey, but also her deepest insecurities and ambitions? The weight of the challenge pressed upon her, invigorating yet intimidating, the first step was to reflect on her roots. She could draw from her grandmother's traditional recipes, but they needed a contemporary twist, something that mirrored her evolution from the small-town girl she'd been to the ambitious culinary artist she aspired to be. Each memory held layers, flavors of nostalgia infused with the bitterness of self-doubt. As she began chopping vegetables, the rhythmic sound of her knife against the cutting board grounded her. The act was soothing, akin to a meditation she desperately needed. It was when she minced garlic that the idea began to form layers of flavor, much like the layers of her life experiences. She would craft something that paid homage to her heritage while asserting her uniqueness. This notion filled her with a fervor she hadn't anticipated. "Could you show us who you are?" she whispered to herself, the reflection coiling within her like steam rising from a pot. It was a question not just for herself but aimed squarely at Thomas too. She needed him to witness the different facets of her identity, woven together with each ingredient she chose. Her thoughts drifted to Thomas's earlier words about expectation. The challenge loomed like a mountain range before her. Could she ascend it without losing her footing? Each recipe unfamiliar with the comfort of her grandmother's kitchen felt like a tightrope walk, a precarious balancing act of tradition and innovation. Trying to emulate her grandmother's wisdom, Mia allowed for spontaneity, adjusting as she went along. It was deft experimentation fueled by her newfound confidence, almost liberating. She splashed a bit of lemon juice into her creation, the acidity serving as a metaphor for the bite of reality she had faced. Yet, the sweetness of honey would offset the sharpness, just as she managed to soften the harshness of her past with hope and determination. Yet doubt reared its head again, harsher than before. What if Thomas couldn't see beyond his preconceived notions? What if this dish did not resonate with him? Her hands stilled as a wave of anxiety washed over her. Was it true that her efforts could still fall flat? She paused, taking a deep breath to extinguish the creeping uncertainty. This was more than a dish, this was her voice, her struggle shaped into something tangible. She recalled her promise to herself to break through the labels that bound her. With renewed vigor, she pressed on, layering flavors with intention, letting her heart spill onto the plate. The colors danced vividly, and the aroma began to encase her in a warm embrace. As she plated the final touches, an ephemeral mix of vulnerability and strength surged through her. "This is me," she murmured as she added a final sprinkle of fresh herbs, her signature flourish. The kitchen doors swung open, allowing Thomas to enter just as she set the plate down. His eyes roamed over her creation, a mixture of concern and curiosity tugging at his features. Mia felt her heart race, suspended between anticipation and dread. Would he recognize the soul behind her work and transform from mere observer into believer? "And what is the story behind this dish?" he asked, leaning in for a closer look, his expression unreadable, her lips curled into a fragile smile, the moment teetering on the brink of revelation. "It's about transformation," she breathed. Did he understand? Would this dish become the bridge they needed to cross? As she prepared to share the narrative behind her creation, a question loomed larger than any worry. Would she find acceptance in a world so often narrowed by expectation, or would she remain ensnared in the confines of others' perceptions? The moment hung heavily in the air, charged with possibility. What lay in store as they ventured deeper into this uncharted culinary dialogue? Mia's heart raced, the anticipation thick like the steam rising from the dish as she met Thomas's gaze. There was a flicker of understanding in his eyes, but uncertainty loomed as she prepared to unveil the intricacies of her creation. Would he appreciate the delicate balance of flavors she'd labored over, or would he dismiss it as just another dish? "Transformation," Thomas echoed, nodding slowly. "Interesting. In what way?" The simplicity of his question belied its weight. She fidgeted momentarily, her fingers dancing across the plate's edge. "It reflects my journey, roots steeped in tradition but open to exploration." His brows furrowed as he tilted his head, the way an artist might examine a piece of art, searching for hidden meanings. The scrutiny was both thrilling and terrifying. She felt exposed, her soul laid bare atop that plate. "Is that how you see yourself?" he asked, gently probing the depths she feared to explore. Mia clenched her jaw, a moment of silence stretching between them. Could she articulate the mix of pride and panic within her? I want to be more than what S expected. I want to surprise to provoke thought through my cooking. Then, he said, a glimmer of intrigue lighting his tone, what did you expect from me? The question turned the air electric. Did she dare admit her desire for recognition? For validation in her craft? She steadied herself, letting the doubt filter out. I didn't want you to see just a dish. I wanted you to see me. Everything I am learning and becoming. He nodded, his expression shifting as if he were beginning to unwrap a gift. What's next? He encouraged, leaning closer, an invitation to delve deeper. Mia hesitated. The truth swirled in her mind, a tempest of vulnerability. She realized that sharing her story would be just as important as the dish itself. My grandmother taught me that food has the power to connect us, to share our stories, she began, her voice more resolute now. This dish is a fusion of her legacy and my future, a dance between the past and possibilities. As she spoke, she found her rhythm, the words flowing like ingredients in a pot. She spoke of summers spent in her grandmother's kitchen, the scent of her famous dishes mingling with laughter and love. But there was darkness too, the fear of judgment, of never stepping out from the shadows of others' expectations. Mia's energy surged as she delved deeper into the contrast of her struggles against her aspirations. Each flavor in the dish mirrored a different part of her, a complex layering of her identity and values. I realized I can't let fear dictate my path, she confessed, her heart racing with a mix of courage and trepidation. I have to challenge what others think I can create. Thomas's eyes widened as he processed her revelations. And this is how you choose to confront that? His voice was low, contemplative. Through food? Exactly, she said, a fierce determination igniting within her. Food is my canvas, and with every plate, I redefine who I am. For a moment, they stood locked in this exchange, an intimate moment of connection born from vulnerability. And then, a flicker of hope ignited in her chest. Perhaps she could elicit change not just in her own life but in the prejudices that surrounded her world. Yet, as he took a slow bite, examining her creation, a new anxiety settled in. Would he truly understand? Would her transformation resonate, or would it simply be lost amid his own expectations? As she awaited his reaction, the intense emotions swirled within Mia, a concoction of fear and hope, vulnerability and strength. She was no longer just a small-town girl with a dream, she was a culinary artist claiming her right to rise beyond limitations. Wow, Thomas finally murmured, his tone awash with surprise. She held her breath, ready to navigate whatever insight he would share. Who are you, Mia? With that, the room filled with the weight of new possibilities, each word hanging in the air like an unfinished recipe. The impending revelation left Mia at a crossroads, ready to step into the unknown. What awaited her on this journey of self-discovery? Would she seize this opportunity or stumble once again into the shadows of doubt? Mia felt the weight of Thomas's question pressing down on her, each syllable a challenge that lingered in the air between them. Who am I? The inquiry was simple yet profound, digging into the marrow of her identity. She had spent her life trying to fit into molds crafted by others, but now, standing here with her creation laid bare, the demand to define herself felt monumental. What do you mean? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. The moment felt too pivotal for ambiguous answers. Thomas regarded her with an intensity she had not anticipated. His gaze softened, but she sensed the scrutiny, the unrelenting examination of not just her dish, but of the person behind it. I mean, he began, who is the real Mia? What lies beneath the surface of this plate? The question stirred a whirlwind within her. Mia had built her life around the flavors of her grandmother's kitchen, the layers of tradition that grounded her. Yet, in this moment, she realized she had never fully embraced the potential for her own voice to manifest beyond the familial legacy. Could she step even further away from the shadows, craft a narrative that was distinctly hers? I guess I see myself as someone seeking acceptance, she finally replied, feeling a mix of confessions unfurling along with each word. But acceptance on my own terms. I want to reshape not just my career, but also how others perceive culinary art itself. He nodded as if she had dropped a crucial puzzle piece into place. And what's holding you back from this transformation? Her mind raced with the reality of this concept. The fear of failure loomed large, suffocating and tangible. Critics could easily dismantle her carefully constructed aspirations, leaving her vulnerable to harsh judgments. I've always let fear of others' opinions dictate my choices, she admitted, a confession both liberating and terrifying. Then it's time we dismantle that fear, don't you think? You need to embrace your voice, Mia. Let it dictate your path instead. His eyes bore into hers, imbuing her with an unexpected resolve. Mia swallowed hard, recognizing the challenge ahead of her. She needed to evolve beyond simply choosing the right ingredients or cooking techniques. This was about embracing the entirety of who she was. The concept of a culinary artist must emerge not just from the dishes she crafted, but through the very emotions they evoked and the stories they told. And so, the possibility of transformation ignited within her. I want to challenge the status quo, she declared, surprising herself with the conviction in her voice. I want to explore beyond what people think. I can accomplish a full altruistic expression through food. Good, he said, his voice brimming with encouragement. Let us elevate that ambition into something tangible. What is your vision for the future? Here it was an opportunity to mold her dream into a tangible direction. The weight of the future loomed before her, and she felt a flicker of excitement coupled with the urgent need to focus her thoughts. I could create a menu that tells a story, she imagined aloud, every idea feeding into the next, her voice gaining momentum. Each course could illustrate a chapter of my life, perhaps one that embodies the frustration of being underestimated, intertwined with the beauty of forging my own identity. So, let us harness that essence, he encouraged, a smile breaking through the intensity of their exchange. How do you envision structuring it? Mia paused, realizing this was more than just discussing a menu. This was about defining her legacy. She pictured an intricate tapestry of dishes, colors, flavors dancing on a plate, each one reflecting a slice of her identity. And then, she saw it clearly, her journey had begun with an old family recipe, but it could transcend it to become something utterly original. Butterflies of anticipation flitted in her stomach, and she dared to dream of a future where she wasn't just a waitress but a renowned culinary artist. A sudden realization washed over her. She would need to confront not just external biases but also her internal fears. The road ahead wasn't easy, it would demand intense introspection and unwavering resolve. But as she looked into Thomas's keen eyes, she sensed that the foundation for her growth was solidifying. I am ready to embrace this, she vowed, feeling stronger than before, a silent promise to herself threading through her thoughts. And I will support you, he affirmed with sincerity, reinforcing her convictions. As they brainstormed, Mia felt a mix of exhilaration and trepidation wash over her, the expansive horizon of possibilities sparkling before her. Yet beneath that excitement lurked an undercurrent of confusion. What other layers of her identity remained unexplored? The engagement with Thomas had sparked something in her, but what truly awaited her as she ventured deeper into the unknown? Would she possess the strength to face the limits she had imposed upon herself? Little did she know, the upcoming encounters would not only challenge her creativity but shake the very foundations of her resolve. Mia stood at the threshold of the bistro, a flurry of emotions swirling within her. The path laid out before her felt simultaneously exhilarating and daunting. She had confronted Thomas, challenged his perceptions, and ultimately illuminated her journey through flavors, a powerful demonstration of her evolution. Yet, she knew this was only the beginning. Weeks passed, and with each passing day, Mia's resolve solidified. She immersed herself in culinary experimentation, crafting a menu that encapsulated her story wrapped in vibrant flavors reminiscent of her heritage. The idea took on its own life. Her creations blossomed into a tapestry of experiences that reflected her individuality while paying homage to her ancestors. Confidence surged in her chest, each plate she innovated a testament to her growth. Recognition soon followed, tinged with surprise and curiosity. Diners flocked to the bistro, not only for the food but the narrative she wove through her artistry. Word of mouth spread like wildfire. Mia was no longer merely a waitress. She had transcended her original role, stepping into the spotlight with the skillful grace of a true chef. Those who had once dismissed her now recognized the depth of her passion. She felt the warmth of their acknowledgement wrap around her, affirming a transformation she had dared to cultivate. One day, during the dinner rush, a local food critic arrived. Mia's heart raced at the thought of someone with such influence tasting her carefully crafted dishes. As she presented her signature dish, a vibrant fusion that encapsulated her journey, she steadied her breathing. With each bite the critic took, Mia held her breath, praying for acceptance. The moment hung suspended in the air. The critic paused, eyes narrowing in contemplation. Then, a slow smile appeared, one that ignited a spark of triumph within Mia's heart. They scribbled down notes, glancing up at her with an intensity that ignited both hope and anxiety. "Mia," they finally spoke, "this is brilliant. The way you've layered flavors mirrors your journey beautifully. It's an unexpected delight." As the critic departed with promises to spread the word, Mia felt a renewed sense of identity. No longer merely the girl from a humble background, she had carved a niche where her art flourished. She had achieved not just acceptance but admiration, consciously choosing to embrace her story rather than hide behind others' expectations. In the weeks that followed, Mia received invitations to showcase her culinary mastery at various local events and even opportunities to teach budding chefs about authentic cultural cuisine. With every class taught and demonstration given, she felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. She had conquered her fears, demonstrating her mastery of English and French with ease, allowing her heritage's rich stories to resonate with her dishes. This fulfilled her ambition beyond what she had ever imagined, validating her confidence as a culinary artist. At the end of it all, as she stood looking out from the bistro's small patio one evening, the setting sun casting a golden hue over the vibrant streets of New Orleans, Mia reflected on her journey. She had emerged as more than a waitress, she was a culinary storyteller. The road had not been easy, but she had navigated each twist and turn with patience, resilience, and authenticity. The weight of societal expectations had transformed into wings, lifting her toward limitless horizons. "Here's to many more flavors to create," she whispered to herself, heart swelling with pride, ready for whatever might come next. And in that moment, she finally understood, in embracing her true self, she had achieved a profound metamorphosis, one that would forever be etched in every dish she served. You need to subscribe now to witness the evolution of Mia's journey and not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm that keeps these inspirational tales alive. Comment your reactions and theories about Mia's transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. This is the moment to show your support for stories of personal overcoming. Don't wait even one more second to share.